House of the Dragon, a Game of Thrones prequel show, is coming in 2022 on HBO, and beside Targaryens themselves, Targaryen dragons will also play a major role in this upcoming epic series. Game of Thrones had only 3 dragons, and it was a game changer. House of the Dragon will feature over 20 dragons, and even more epic dragon fights. Dragons are the reason that the Dragonlord Targaryen family frequently married brother to sister to keep the bloodline pure, as it's generally believed that Valyrian heritage plays a part in bonding with a dragon. Provided it has a blood and freedom, a dragon never stops growing. The lifespan of dragons is many times that of a human, although their maximum natural lifespan is difficult to determine. As beasts of war, most of the known examples died in battle. Balerion, the largest and oldest Targaryen dragon, already alive, and House Targaryen relocated from Valyria to Dragonstone in 114 BC, died of old age in 94 AC. Balerion was near 200 years of age when he died, but as the only known example of a dragon who died of old age, it's unclear if this should be considered typical. The Valyrians had thousands of dragons. After the doom of Valyria, however, the only dragons known to have survived were 5 dragons on Dragonstone. They belonged to House Targaryen, who had brought them from Valyria when they went into exile. 4 of these dragons eventually died on Dragonstone, leaving only Balerion. However, the other dragons left eggs behind, and from these hatched Vhagar and Myrxis. Balerion, called the Black Dread, was ridden by King Aegon I Targaryen during his conquest. Balerion was the largest and oldest Targaryen dragon ever. His wingspan was so large that his shadow could engulf entire towns when he passed overhead. His teeth were as long as swords, and his jaws were large enough to swallow a mammoth. Beside by Aegon the Conqueror, Balerion was also ridden by Maegor the Cruel, Princess Arya Targaryen, and King Viserys I Targaryen. Balerion's scales and wings were black. His fire was black as well. When he was in the fullness of his power, his flames could melt steel and stone, and fuse sand into glass. House Targaryen used Balerion, Vhagar, and Myrxis in their wars of conquest against the Seven Kingdoms. They were instrumental in the burning of Harrenhal and the Field of Fire, and the threat of dragons led to submissions of Turin Stark and Shara Wren. Dragons were also used in the First Dornish War, which caused the death of Myrxis at the Hellholt in 10 AC. She was ridden by Queen Rhaenys Targaryen, and was named for one of the gods of Old Valyria. Myrxis was larger than Vhagar, but smaller than Balerion. She could swallow horses whole. Myrxis had golden eyes and silver scales. While being ridden by Queen Rhaenys in their invasion of Dorne, an iron bolt from a scorpion went through Myrxis' eye, and the dragon and Rhaenys fell from the sky to their deaths. Many dragons were hatched after Aegon's conquest. During Aegon's first reign, half a dozen hatchlings were born on Dragonstone. One of the first was Quicksilver, hatched in 7 AC, who bonded with Aegon's first elder son and heir, Aenys. Quarter the size of Balerion, her fireballs were pale white in color. Quicksilver died in 43 AC, in what became the first time since the doom of Valyria that a dragon fought a dragon. In the battle beneath the God's Eye, Aegon the Conqueror's grandson, also named Aegon, attempted to win back the throne that by rights was his. But both Quicksilver and Aegon died fighting Maegor upon his dragon Balerion. Balerion grabbed Quicksilver's throat in his jaws, then ripped one of Quicksilver's wings from its body in midair, after which Quicksilver fell to its death, along with young Aegon. Over the course of 150 years, the Targaryens rode their dragons as a symbol of their power. King Jaehaerys I Targaryen took 6 dragons with him to Winterfell, to visit the Warden of the North. These included Jaehaerys' son Vermithor, Queen Alysanne on Silverwing, and 4 other currently unknown dragons. Vermithor, called the Bronze Fury, was a male dragon. Vermithor was already a large dragon in 48 AC. Only larger were Balerion and Vhagar. By the time of the Dance of the Dragons, Vermithor was almost 100 years old. Balerion finally died of old age in 94 AC, late in the reign of Jaehaerys I. Jaehaerys' grandson and eventual successor Viserys I was Balerion's rider at the time of its death. This left Vhagar as the largest living dragon, and by 129 AC she was approaching Balerion's size. By the end of the reign of King Viserys I Targaryen, 20 dragons were alive. The majority of these died during the civil war called the Dance of the Dragons, which began in 129 AC and lasted until mid-131 AC. Additionally, devastated the Targaryens' dragon population, ultimately leading to their extinction within a few decades. They never truly recovered. The largest and the oldest dragons during the Targaryen civil war were Rhaegar, Vermithor, Silverwing, Dreamfire, Meleys, Xerxes, and Syrax. The younger dragons still large enough to be ridden to war were Seasmoke, Sunfire, Tessarion, Vermax, Arax, Tyraxes, and Moondancer. Stormcloud, Morgul, and Shrikos were hatchlings not yet big enough to ride. There were also 3 wild dragons living on Dragonstone, which had never been successfully claimed by any rider: Grey Ghost, Sheep Stealer, and the Cannibal. Syrax was Rhaenyra Targaryen's dragon. Her name came from a goddess of Valeria. Syrax had yellow scales. She was huge and formidable, but not as fearsome or experienced in battle as Daemon's Xerxes. She was kept in chains and exceedingly well fed. Syrax was slain in the aftermath of the storming of the Dragon Pit. Prince Joffrey had attempted to mount her to ride to the Dragon Pit, save the other dragons, and perhaps mount his own dragon Tyraxes there. However, dragons are not horses, and they will only accept one mount at a time. In mid-flight, Syrax shrugged off Joffrey, who fell to his death. Syrax eventually died fighting the rioters on the ground. In 129 AC, after the start of the Dance of the Dragons, the second biggest dragon alive, Vermithor, bent his neck to a blacksmith's bastard called Hugh Hammer. During the Second Battle of Tumbleton, Adam Balerion upon the dragon Seasmoke attacked Vermithor. Seasmoke was a pale, silver-grey dragon. It was of fighting size during the dance, but still a young dragon and nimbler in the air than his older brothers. He was of comparable size to Targaryen, who was about 3 times smaller than Vermithor, and not as fearsome a beast as him in comparison. Just before this, Vermithor's rider was killed. Vermithor, now riderless, wounded and enraged, took flight, attacking all those around him. While Vermithor was only 20 feet above the field, Seasmoke slammed into him from above. The 2 dragons rolled over the field, so entangled that neither was able to break free. Tessarion also entered the fight. The 3 dragons fought to the death. Tessarion, also known as the Blue Queen, was a she-dragon. She was ridden by Prince Daeron Targaryen. Tessarion was a beautiful blue she-dragon, and her flames were cobalt blue in color. She was one of the smaller fighting dragons. Vermithor killed Seasmoke when he locked his teeth into the latter's neck and ripped his head off. He attempted to take flight, with his prize still in his jaws, but his wings were tattered, causing him to be unable to bear the weight. After a moment, he collapsed and died. Tessarion was the last to die. On 3 occasions did she try to fly again, but failed every time again. By late afternoon the day after the battle, she seemed to be in pain. At the command of Lord Banjicut Blackwood, his best archer shot 3 arrows into the dying dragon's eye, killing her. The 4th dragon, Silverwing, was also there, but fled into the sky when the battle began. However, after the battle was over, Silverwing descended to land beside the slain dragons. Later, the singers would tell of how she tried to lift dead Vermithor's wing 3 times with her nose, as if to try and make him fly again. Silverwing was a silvery she-dragon. She was ridden by Queen Alysanne Targaryen and by Ulf White during the Dance of the Dragons. Silverwing was the only one of only 4 dragons still alive at the end of the Targaryen civil war. During this time of the Dance of the Dragons, Rhaegar was the hardened survivor of 100 battles, had grown almost as large as Balerion, and was the oldest and largest of the dragons in Westeros. Her roar was so powerful that it could shake the very foundations of Storm's End. No living dragon could match her size or ferocity. The color of Rhaegar's scales, horns, wings, wing bones, and spinal crest is unknown, as is the color of her flame. Prince Aemond was her dragon rider. At the beginning of the war, Rhaegar killed young dragon Arax, along with its dragon rider Lucerys. Arax was 5 times smaller than Rhaegar. The storming of the Dragon Pit took place during the riot of King's Landing, during the Dance of the Dragons, when the rioters slew 4 dragons: Shrikos, young dragon unclaimed since the death of Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen; Morgul, the dragon of Princess Jaehaera Targaryen; Tyraxes, the dragon ridden by Prince Joffrey Balerion; and pale blue dragon Dreamfire, unclaimed since Queen Helena Targaryen's death. Unable to fly away as they had been chained, The 4 dragons fought with their horns, claws and teeth. They let loose their dragon flame and transformed the dragon pit into a fiery inferno. The first dragon to die was Shrikos, who was slain by Hob, who leaped onto her neck and drove his axe down into the dragon's skull. Next died Morgul, slain by the Burning Knight, who rushed into the dragon's flame and stabbed him repeatedly in the eye with his spear as he burned to his own death. Tyrexis burned those who rushed at him from his lair, until the front entrance of his lair was completely blocked with corpses. However, the mob broke through the back door of the dragon's lair and slew him. Last to die was Dreamfire. Dreamfire was the only dragon able to break free of her chains when the mob broke in. She took wing, circled the interior of the dome, and swooped down to attack the men below. She slew more men than the other 3 dragons combined. Archers and crossbowmen loosed arrows and quarrels at her, and whenever she landed, men swarmed her to attack, driving her back into the air. Eventually, one of her eyes was nicked by a crossbow bolt. Half blind and maddened, Dreamfire flew into the dragon pit's great dome above, which cracked on impact. Half of it came tumbling down, crushing her and the dragon slayers under tons of broken stone and rubble. So many dragons had died in the war that the Targaryens could not maintain a stable breeding population, and few survivors became inbred and sickly. Fortunately, however, the key event of House of the Dragon is the exact same event which led to their extinction, the Targaryen Civil War, the Dance of the Dragons, and we'll get to see them all on screen. Part 2 of this video is coming tomorrow, when I will cover even more dragons, in fact some of the most epic dragons and their fights. Lots of dragons, a lot of epic dragon battles. All of that and more this Game of Thrones prequel series House of the Dragons brings in 2022 on HBO. Let me know your thoughts about everything, the prequel, the mighty dragons and their epic battles in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.